So I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds, but
Can you see the slides okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. So thank you all for joining and welcome. This is the continuation in our overview and training of the performance potential assessment process. And tonight we're going to be focusing more closely on the tool and the calibration process. But I just wanted to bring us up to speed on what we've covered so far last week in a couple of manager trainings, starting with slide 2, showing you where we are currently in November. We've launched the assessment period for the entire month of November. We'll be going through this, and managers should already be accessing, first line managers that is, accessing the tool and doing their assessments in the tool and really identifying the performance levels for each team member. So that's where we are for November. Jumping to slide 4, again, another brief overview of what was covered already in the manager training sessions. What is the tool and the purpose of the tool, as well as the performance factors that you'll be rating the team members on. Those performance factors, again, are developing, performing, and exceeding. And then jumping to slide 6, a bit more about the definitions of those factors and additional information. And just a reminder that we're not focusing on the potential matrix this go around, this first time that we're doing this. It's much more the performance factors that we're focusing on as a company. So I'm jumping to slide 9 because tonight's session is really dedicated to an overview of the tool and then the calibration process that accompanies the part of the process where managers can collaborate and really share their feedback on each team member. So I'll turn it over to Carolyn really quickly to go through the assessment tool, and then I'll jump back in to talk more about the calibration process.
Great, thank you, Lorna. So I'll quickly go through some screen grabs of the tool. We are really lucky to have Lean, who developed this tool for us. This tool replaces, for those groups who've gone through the performance potential assessment in the past, it replaces the slides that previously were manually prepared by all the people business partners. So this tool really helps us scale the process, and we're excited to use it for this go round. I will also mention that some groups have decided not to use the tool. So you would know if your group was using the tool or not at this point, but just wanted to note that some groups have decided not to use the tool for this first round. I'll take you through real quickly the mermaid diagram, which also lives in the handbook, just on the steps of what we expect the workflow to look like. So by now, the tool should be launched for your department. So you should have received an email from your people business partner kind of kicking off the process. As a manager planning for your team, you need to sign up for the tool first. Confirm your email address and confirm that through your GitLab email, and then you'll be able to log into the tool. Managers are only able to see their teams, both their direct reports and indirect reports within the system. After you log in, that's when you start assessing your teams. So you'll be able to place them on the 9 block. And we as a PPP organization will also in conjunction be setting up those calibration meetings. So you'll know kind of what the timeline is you're working for to have those decisions made and ready to discuss with the broader org. And then after that is really the finalization and approval piece of the process. So we'll discuss placement, through the calibration process, which Lorna will go through in a minute. And then we'll finalize the assessments at the e-group level. So we'll be sharing summaries with the e-group members for approval, and then that data will flow to Bamboo HR. We will have that information loaded into Bamboo HR, but it will be not visible to team members until January 1st to allow for managers to have that time to communicate the ratings to their team members. And again, this is a more step-by-step view of the actions required as a manager. You'll create an account within the assessment tool. You'll have to confirm that email address. That's where some folks get stuck. So just wanted to note that. And then you should be able to sign into the tool pretty easily. You'll be taken to a home screen where you should see an assessment listed for your team. If you click on that assessment, you'll be able to assess your direct reports and indirect reports. And that should be kind of the limitations of your visibility within the system. And then just some other additional features within the tool, just thought we would mention. You can use the filtering option. So you can filter by direct reports only, department, roles, etc., which can help you if you have larger orgs. Just look at the data with a shorter list of team members. You also are able to enter the data in table view if that's a view you prefer. Reminder that this isn't like a Google Doc where it saves the information automatically. So you do need to save your changes for them to be captured in the tool. So just a reminder on that. And then once you have placed your team members and saved them in the system, the next step is really preparing for those calibration conversations, which again, Lorna will talk through in a minute. And again, just some more features within the system. The system's really intuitive, but we have regional coloring. And again, that's just visually, so we can see where folks fall in what region. Filtering, which makes the list of eligible team members shorter for those of you that may have larger teams. And if you need to start over, you can clear all. That is an option in the system. But definitely want to make sure you need to save your changes for them to be captured and collected for those calibration conversations. And within the system, we do have two other features that we wanted to mention. One, which is the box definitions. We've shared the box definitions in previous trainings. They also are in the handbook for reference. But if you hover over a box number, you will see the box definition and the meaning attached to that specific box. Some orgs also have chosen to use the promotion readiness and succession planning features. Some have chosen to use one, some have chosen to use both within the tool. You can indicate either promotion readiness and or succession planning by clicking the plus mark next to your team member. And a box will pop up and it will allow you to choose the time frame with which someone would be ready for say, a promotion. And we're not going to actually watch the video live here in this training, but there is a video in this deck for those of you that want kind of a play-by-play of how to drag and drop. But again, the tool is super intuitive. But if you do get stuck, feel free to reach out to your people business partner for help. And lastly, just for transparency, on the people business partner side, we do have the ability to kind of watch the planning as it's occurring within the team, within the orgs that we support. So this is just showing the dashboard that we have access to, which breaks down both performance and potential and allows us to kind of show different views. One being the percentages, so we can really look at that distribution and make sure that that seems to be consistent across teams. Look at regions to see if there's any major discrepancies based on region, and also look at male versus non-male. So those are just some features that the PBP has access to only, but it is just more information and data for us during the process to make sure we're trying to be, as fair and unbiased as possible. So with that being said, let me turn it back over to Lorna to talk more about the calibration process.
Thank you, Carolyn. So what is the calibration process and what is a calibration session? So as we move to a performance-based pay approach, we need to be able to show data that supports how team members are assessed and ensure consistency across the job families and the skill levels. So that's the value of a calibration process in summary, the goal is really to ensure that different managers are applying similar standards in measuring and evaluating performance. It really is an opportunity to kind of be on the same page as we assess the teams that you're a manager for, along with your other managers on the team. So on slide 21, the pre-work for the calibration sessions is very essential and ensures that the sessions are efficient and productive. The pre-work includes reviewing the job families that you would have done as a manager anyway before starting this process. It also includes reviewing competencies, reviewing any functional competencies that may have already been identified for the roles that you manage. Making sure you're aware of and know how to avoid unconscious biases. In the pre-work link in the handbook, we link to the unconscious bias training provided by our diversity, inclusion, belonging team to just kind of get a refresher on that. It's very important also to just take a look at how to avoid unconscious bias, not just knowing what they are, but how to avoid them as you go through this process. The pre-work also includes adding notes for each of your team members to the calibration session agenda. Some calibration sessions have already been scheduled, and you will know about these, or you probably have already been invited to the calibration session as a manager. I'm thinking of the customer success team specifically, where I know those have been scheduled already. On slide 22, just a quick overview so we can leave some time for any questions you may have. Some teams may choose to do the calibration session by function. For example, hold one calibration session for each of the different roles across the department. Again, using customer success as an example, we've scheduled those already for just the SAs and then another one for just the TAMPs. Calibration discussions confirm ratings again and minimize bias in the decision-making process for where a team member is placed in the tool. Making sure that, I can't stress this enough, it really is an opportunity to make sure we're minimizing bias that especially could affect underrepresented groups. If you're a manager of a team, and just being aware of that as you go through the exercise. During the calibration sessions, the department managers should be increasing awareness of top talent across the department. You're collaborating with your peers, the other managers, in doing that. You're discussing promotion readiness and planning promotions, or you're looking at succession planning. And then on slide 23, just an example of what that distribution could look like. And if any changes to the placement of the team members occur when you're going through this calibration session, make sure you save those changes again in the tool, constantly saving, because it doesn't automatically save for you. So that's the high level of the calibration session. And then of course, we'll be having another training session tomorrow, I think at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And of course, the people business partners are absolutely available for any challenges or any issues that you may come across. So with that said, 15 minutes left, we can open up the floor for questions and tackle any immediate questions you might have. And let me see if there's anything on the document. Nope, nothing in the document, but feel free to verbalize if you have any questions top of mind. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward, actually, which is good to hear.
Thank you, Bartek.
Just a quick one, Lorna and Carolyn. I just watched the timelines for these. I can see that obviously there's some dependencies on follow-up steps from managers. My team is rather big. We are now in QBR's preparation, and there's also promotion documents. It's really not a good time for individuals. and I do want to put a lot of effort into it. I understand we have to do it. Is there any kind of ways of get maybe a week of extension or something for team members with larger teams? Because that leaves me literally till next week to complete 9 assessments. I can see the dependencies.
When is the calibration meeting? Adrian, are you referring to specifically the email for sales?
No, what I understood from the CS leadership meeting this week, that I think the expectation is to complete this by next week, if I'm not wrong.
For you to do the assessment of your team by November 11th. I think we're on the customer success side, we're allowing through to November 13th, because the calibration session for solutions architects and TAMs will occur on the 18th and the 19th, Adrian. Don't know if that's been communicated to you yet.
Yeah,
I have not seen that yet, but it's good.
You have some wiggle room, and I know it's technically a sales friendly month because it's the first month in the quarter, but I know then we also bump up against QBRs. So like timing is always something we're constantly struggling with, specifically in the field. But I think to your point around preparing, I think if you have some high level thoughts around performance and potential for your team members, prepare them for the 18th, but you'll have through December and January to communicate those to your team members. So that's when you can really pull together that maybe more detailed version of the why with supporting examples. And that should hopefully give you enough buffer to get that done.
Okay, cool. I think in general, this is very good. I mean, I'm very familiar with this kind of process, but it does, if you want to do that effectively as a manager, then you do want to spend a bit of time and have a bit of a feedback session as well. And my concern was like, this is really not good timing in the sales organization with QBRs. But that's okay. I'll try to aim for that. I'll go for that.
We hear you on that. And sorry, go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, I would say the other issue that we run into, the reason that we can't extend the timeline and why we try to communicate this out so early by communicating all the different changes that were going to happen in October and to, as well as kind of communicating this change was going to happen in September, is because in order to iterate and have the manager review cycle open for January to use these outputs in compensation, we have to have the month of December, specifically the first 2 weeks since the holiday season comes upon us, in order to get that ready, or we wouldn't be able to open manager review. So if we make an extension, that pushes back our ability to finish annual comp review on time.
I totally get that. Of course.
We would love to give extensions if we could. Just wanted to make sure that there's also, clarity around the follow-on impacts of that.
And I think given this is our first iteration too, I think knowing this will now become more of an ongoing process will hopefully help managers not feel so rushed. It should be something that you're gathering data and information and examples on throughout the course of the year. And engineering actually has a really great template, which is shared in the deck around how you might be able to do that in the future. So we hear you, and we're trying to make it more ongoing versus like a short timeline.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, this is DT coming to you from a, well, it's getting dark here now in Santa Cruz, California. I joined a little late, I'm sorry about that. So one quick question, is this something that's an IC, as an IC in customer success, as a solution architect, is it something that I'm gonna be doing and filling out a bunch of stuff so that managers review, or is it the managers going the other way? Like, is it bottom up or top down?
It's top down. It's the managers doing the assessment of each of their team members.
Got it. Cool.
But that being said, I think the conversation following the assessment is definitely a collaborative discussion around career development and other things that you want to focus on in the future. So although the manager is responsible, I think for the first action, it should be a collaborative process after that.
Got
That
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and and Adrian, hi. To Adrian's point, it'll be interesting from a customer success standpoint because we're at like from the QBR, the SA leadership QBRs last week. The essays in general across the globe are at like a 2.3 to 2.7 essay to SAL ratio. So performance is, well, and it's been like that way for as long as I've been here, for 3.5 years. Or even, yeah, whatever. But it'll be interesting to see as from a CS organization, like how we all like kind of compare together and like what our temperature and feeling is, and growth and all that good stuff. So I'm excited to see how this works out.
Yeah, that's a good point, DT. I'm excited to see that as well from a bench strength perspective, right? How the essays are rated across the org, across the customer success department, and the managers collaborating and having that high level view of all the essays and then all the TAMs. So it'll be interesting.
I can tell we're all stressed out and thin and overworked, but yeah, it'd be great to see the data.
I agree, DT.
I'm being facetious, a little truth, but it will be good to actually get some real good data. So thanks for sharing.
I think what DT is trying to say also, and I think most of the people ops team would maybe know, but we're going through a lot of changes in our organization where we're recording activities, and Jonathan probably, most of you must be familiar with that, but there's a lot of new things which are happening in CS, and that's just another one which is happening, which is very exciting. So there's a lot for everyone.
Mm.
And it's all happening in a very short span of a quarter.
Good
Well,
times.
yes, but we're trying to make this process as easy as possible. And I know it's a short timeline, but that's why we're providing like a ton of training and the tool, and really like Lorna will help be driving that calibration discussion. And so again, hoping we understand it is a shift, but hoping, we can provide a lot of support through that shift. Any additional questions? Feel free to verbalize if you don't have time to type in the doc.
I'm good. I have to drop off actually. So thanks for that. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Adrian. Any other questions? Okay, I think we're good.
Thanks everyone for jumping on. Again, reach out to your PVP for any future questions.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
You too, DT.
Bye.
Thanks, JC, Brittany.